machine with the stupid name. What was it again? Phone wave name subject to change. Told you what happened because of the D-mails too. Are you going to repeat that? No. How? You send a D-mail, Echelon will pick it up, and the world line will go back from beta to alpha. And then Mayuri will die again. I won't be able to save her no matter what I do. She'll keep dying for all eternity. And then I had a terrifying thought and stared directly to Maho's eyes. No way. She of all people couldn't possibly. I trusted Maho completely. I didn't want to believe she was capable of it. The terrible machine that I just confronted had drained me of any kind of rationality. A flashback felt like it was going to hit me any second. Images of Kurisu and Mayuri's deaths were flashing through my mind. So I said something I never should have said. You aren't trying to bring back the Alpha world line, are you? What? Trying to create a world where Kurisu lives and Mayuri dies? What? You asshole! There was an impact on my cheek, and a loud sound in my ears. The next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground face up. Excuse me. Hydration break. It was a while before I understood what had happened. The left half of my face felt like it was on fire. I was punched? By Daru? I've known him for 5 years. This was the first time anything like that had happened. Apologize. Apologize to Mahotan right now. Wait, stop it, Hashida. I can only imagine how you've been suffering. How much you're suffering, Okarin. So I'm not giving you any cheap sympathy. But in the end, you're just using that as an excuse. Mahotan, Suzuha, even Mayushi, do you know how much they've done for you? Enough, stop it. Maho grabbed Daru's body and tried to hold him back. Let me go. He's not gonna understand this unless I hit him again. It's enough. What you just did was enough, so calm down. This time Maho put her hand on Daru's shoulder. I'll explain the rest. Go wash your face or something. Go! Pointed towards the shower room, and Daru finally seemed to get control of himself again. Fine. He looked a little awkward as he lowered his fist. Normally he hated any kind of seriousness, so in a situation like this, he'd always tell one of his perverted gentleman jokes. No jokes as he vanished beyond the curtain into the shower room. A moment later, I could hear the sound of water. Christ! Maho was looking down at me. This is your fault for being weird. You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I know that. You're not like that. Come on, can you stand up? Grabbed her hand and slowly got up. I'd taken a solid hit when I wasn't expecting it, so my head was still a little dizzy. That hurt. When somebody who's normally gentle finally gets mad, he's really strong. Right, and when someone gets mad for someone else's sake, not their own, I think that's wonderful. This has changed my opinion of him a little bit. Maho seemed a bit happy as she looked toward the shower room. A little bit. Guess he's always sexually harassing me. Maybe he's fallen in love with you? Kids do that all the time, you know? Tease the girls they like. He's a kid at heart, after all. You gotta be kidding me. You want Suzuha to be my daughter? Would be bad, yeah. I chuckled a bit, quickly stopped and turned to face Maho. The difference between her height was so great that I was looking down on her. Not my subjective opinion. This world exists because of Kurisu's choice. Mayuri's safe because of Kurisu. She can live and be happy. I have to protect that. You're a scientist. You're a lot smarter than I am. You can understand, right? You can understand the laws of the universe. Yeah, Maho quietly nodded. Call it God if you wanted to. It's stupid for humans to challenge God. I tried anyway. I tried a dozen times more, and then I tried 100 times more after that. I failed every time. It was all useless. God will never forgive human arrogance. You're right. Maho was looking out the window as if she was thinking back to her homeland and ancestors. God is a popular guy back home, and among the people of Okinawa. I learned those wonderful beliefs from my parents and grandparents too. I'm a scientist, but I would never mess with God. Then, Maho shook her head a little and looked up at me with a piercing gaze. God you're talking about, that's completely different. Words were sharp, no room for disagreement. The laws of the universe, those are just the equations that define the world. A wonderful being called God has nothing to do with them. There's no reason we can't solve them. I was about to respond, but before I could, Maho went inside the development room. I had no choice but to follow her. I'm well aware of the relationship between Echelon and the D-males and how dangerous it is. Worry, we've sealed away the D-mail function for now. What you're concerned about is never going to happen, because I won't let it. I'm not letting us go back to the Alpha world line. Of course, Hashida and I are working on a way to avoid the danger of the D-mail and to neutralize Echelon. Before we start spending resources on that, there's something we have to do first, something personal. Maho tapped the top of the phone wave Unit 02. Researching now is the time leap technology that you say Kurisu developed. And only time leap? That's right. It was right. I was looking at a time leap machine, not the phone wave name subject to change. You could tell they recreated all the improvements that Kurisu had made to the phone wave. Most obvious was the PC and monitor that were connected to the microwave. Connected to the PC was a headset. It looked like a cord covered in electrodes. This world line, only I knew the details of how the time leap machine was set up. I hadn't told Daru or Maho about them. In other words, with only small hints, Maho had managed to create the same thing as Kurisu. To be honest, it's really frustrating. Frustrating. The more research I do, the more I realize that I can never be Kurisu. I can get as far as digitizing the memory data and transferring it to a cell phone along with the top-down search signals. I still can't clear the biggest hurdle, even though Kurisu could. The data compression, right? Maho nodded. Just can't solve the mystery of how she managed to compress all those terabytes of data. The part that Kurisu had struggled with the most too. In the end, with Daru's help, she'd been able to do it. Did Kurisu tell you anything about it? She seemed a little unhappy as she asked me that. I heard the answer meant giving up on finding the solution for herself, so it meant admitting defeat. Maybe that was really hard for her. Yet she'd chosen to be completing the machine first. But I had no intention of giving her the answer right away. You made me a promise when we last talked, right? You wouldn't try to save Makase Kurisu using the time machine. That's right. Still intend to keep it. If you don't, I can't help you. Maho didn't answer for a while, but without even looking at her face, I could tell she was being torn apart inside. Of course I do. I promised you, after all. After a long pause, she even gave her answer. I couldn't help but laugh. You're a terrible liar. With that look on your face, it's obvious you're not telling the truth. We're done talking. Then I left the development room. I looked toward the shower, but I could still hear the sound of falling water from within. Daru was showing no signs of being done. Hey Daru, I was the stupid one. I'm really sorry. I spoke, there was no answer. Maybe he hadn't heard me. It seemed better for both of us if I apologized tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. That was all I said as I headed towards the door. Okabe. Maho followed me. Came up to me as fast, she almost slammed into me. Think Steins Gate exists? Do you think there's really another world line in the gap between the Alpha and Beta ones, where Mayuri survives and Kurusu doesn't have to die? Want to know what happened when I tried to reach it? Asked Suzuha. In the end, I couldn't beat fate. Steins Gate is just a stupid delusion. Pretty sure, though? I haven't proven that it doesn't exist, you know? It's just the devil's proof, though, right? Nobody can prove a negative. Right, you haven't proven whether it exists or not. You'd given up after one failure. Maho was gritting her teeth hard. I can't believe you. What? I almost went out of control and grabbed her by the shoulders. I managed to stop myself at the last second. I told you before, right? I tried dozens, no, hundreds of times before that. And I remember what I said. I stopped because of the laws of God, whatever that may be. The world lines, the time machines, Steins Gate. They're all just part of the equations that make up the world. Failed dozens of times, or hundreds of times. So what? That happens all the time in science. If you fail that many times, then you try 1,000 times, or 1,000,000 times, or 1,000,000,000 times. And then you're certain to find the answer. You don't know anything. You haven't experienced it. It's the only reason why you can say something so irresponsible. No. I've experienced all of that more times than I can count. Failure, setbacks, regrets, the pain that comes with them, all because of the genius named Makase Kurisu. Equations don't have feelings. Yeah, but it's always humans who solve them in the end. We were glaring at each other, our faces close enough to kiss. Maho's gaze burned into me. For some reason, I couldn't bear to look at her. I turned away. Around without saying a word and tried to head out the door, but she grabbed the hem of my shirt and stopped me. I didn't expect that. Need something else. Turned around annoyed. A moment ago, her expression had been so fierce, but now she simply wore a sad smile. It was so different that for a moment I thought I jumped world lines. Huh? Maho whispered to me. You're a terrible liar, too. Liar? Was I lying? My hands to my face, trying to figure out what she meant. That didn't tell me what kind of look I had on my face, of course, so I simply stood there confused. Liar? What do you mean? I'm not lying. Hashida told me something. He said that a year ago he couldn't even bring up the time machine with you. And Steins Gate was out of the question entirely. You didn't even want to hear the words. Talking about. But it's different now. The look on your face is the same as the one I used to have all the time. Huh? I'd lost to Kurisu during the experimental trials. I'd lost to her with my papers. I'd lost to her in terms of fame. I was so depressed I was ready to give up. In the end, I'd always look at myself in the mirror and yell. Maho pointed to her own heart with her index finger. Gave up on trying, it's over. You'll never win. Pointed it at my left breast. Your face is the same as mine was. The very, very bottom of your heart, you're still ready to take revenge. You're ready to take revenge on Steins Gate for making you into this pathetic person. Me? I still hadn't given up. It's not true. It is true. You really are just like me. It's like I'm seeing my own reflection. You're stubborn, and once you say something, you never back down. Even if you know you're wrong, you pout like a child and refuse to admit it, which causes all kinds of worry and trouble for everyone else. No, it'd make me feel a lot better if you told me I wasn't like you. That's why I understand. When it comes down to it, both you and I are going to stand up on our own 2 feet. Am I wrong, Okabe Rentaro? I'll say it again. All the laws of this world are just equations. Every equation can be solved. We're going to find the key to that answer no matter what, and God has nothing to do with it. We reach the world line in the gap, where Mayuri doesn't die and Kurisu is still alive. Saying all that, I was a little out of breath. A lot of vitality in her tiny body. Her words, the way she looked, me so hard I couldn't speak. So, what will you do? This is your lab, right? Can't keep running without you forever. And then I got a Ryan message. Big trouble. What do I do? Mayuri, I just happened to pass by her. She was running and crying. I'd never seen her so sad. What? Mayuri was crying? I could tell that something bad was going on. Saw my shock, Maho looked over at the phone too. I don't know. I just happened to run into her. She was crying. I was really surprised. She said that it was her fault Kurusu had died. She said she should have died instead, and then she ran away. I ran after her, but I lost her. What do I do? What do I do? What? Looked at Maho. Did she hear that? To think of it, Daru had come out of the shower room at some point and was standing right behind me. It was Mayushi who told me you were coming to the lab. She said she was coming here too. That meant there's a good chance she did. No. I felt like my knees were going to give out. Mayuri existed in this world line because of Kurusu's sacrifice. It was the one thing that Mayuri could never find out. Me, Daru, Suzuha, Ferris, Maho, everyone who knew the truth had kept it from her. I needed to find her. I needed to find Mayuri. I couldn't let her be alone right now. Damn it! I ran out of the lab. Daru in his sleeveless shirt. Frollo! Hot. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for hosting. Oh my god, it's getting good. We just put the time machine back together. And they're waiting for Okabe to give them the secret component to figure out time travel so that we can use it. Change the future. Phew, it's still hot. Also, Mayuri found out that the only reason she's alive is because Makase died. I got into a big argument with everyone at the future laboratory, and I guess she overheard, and then Luca called, saying that she was crying. Do I get to see future Daru of the future? Uh-oh, that's a no-no. I don't know. Maybe. She basically found out the only reason she's alive is because my waifu died. So, I'm gonna try to talk to her. Or find her. She just ran. Nobody knows where she is. She's not answering her phone either. It's getting crazy. And this is the last final timeline. Whatever happens, happens. Phew, it's still hot. The summer solstice had passed. By 6 p.m. the sun was finally setting behind the city skylines. Part of the sky was still red and the rest of the dirty blue. For the past few days, Suzu had worked on the time machine on top of the radio building. It was almost time for her to go back to the past, which meant she was putting a lot more effort into the maintenance work. Parts which could normally get dirty with no trouble had been polished to a sparkling shine. Overthinking this. Maybe I really am worried. She finished her work, put her tools back in the box, stored the box in the time machine's cockpit. She sat down in the control seat and took another look at the battery gauge. With the amount of fuel she had left, in less than a month, she wouldn't be able to go back to July 27th, 2010. Thank you, Frollo. Let me go ahead and hydrate, posture check, and then do a stretch. You came at like the perfect time. I'd say 10 minutes before you got to the stream, I just started a chapter, so. You have exquisite timing. And this is the last stream of Steins Gate. Finish it today. Alright, posture check. And then do a big stretch. Oh, a stretch. Okay. Whew. I needed that. It was getting tense. I was yelling. Oh, also you missed it. Daru punched Okabe. Happy Valentine's Day! Doo-doo-doo. Yeah, the story's getting crazy. So many things are happening. Daru, such a Chad. He went on a date and everything. He's growing up. With the amount of fuel she had left in less than a month, she wouldn't be able to go back to July 27th, 2010. She had to leave this era before that time limit passed her by. The original plan of taking Rintaro to the past looked like it was going to fail. That meant she would have to go on a mission that she'd spent the last year coming up with all by herself. I still can't believe you did this, Dad. She chuckled to herself, stuck her hand deep in the computer core. Inside was an external hard drive that clearly belonged to 2011, not 2036. Itaru probably put it here when her back was turned. On the secondary touch panel monitors was displaying a warning that read, "Foreign object detected in cockpit." These machines were capable of breaking through early 21st century camouflage in less than a second. It was clear from the way the fake wires were laid out the monitoring data retrieval was not its objectives. Probably hidden it here because he didn't want anyone to find it. Maybe she should have just pretended she didn't see it. Leave it here until she was just about to leave. She pondered the best course of action. She'd heard the heavy door outside opening. Someone was here. Suzuha pulled her gun from its holster, looked out from the cockpit toward the iron door that led into the building. She still remembered what happened with Kagure the other day. It couldn't hurt to be careful. She saw who it was. She relaxed. Tutaru! Big Sis Mayu! I almost never see you here. She put her gun away and jumped out of the cockpit to welcome her. Oh, she's sad. Sad, Mayuri. No. Not sad, Mayuri. Suzu. Huh? Are you crying? What happened? No, not sad, Mayuri. Why? It's not fair. Suzu had no idea why she was always smiling. Mayuri would be crying. Why didn't anybody tell me? Huh? Why didn't anybody tell Mayushi the truth about her and this person named Makise Kurusu? She almost spoke but quickly cut herself off. How did she hear? And from whom? The cruel truth that Mayuri's survival depended on Makise Kurusu's death. There was nothing in the world Suzu had wanted to see less than the look on Mayuri's face when she discovered that. Told you. There were only a few people who knew the truth, excluding herself, only Rintaro, Itaru, Ferris, and Maho. None of them would deliberately tell her. In fact, they'd all hidden it for her sake. I heard Okuring and Maho talking. Then it was an accident after all. Hey, Suzu, can you tell me about something? About Mayushi and Okuring in the year 2036. Suzuha wasn't sure what to say. To be honest, she didn't want to say anything at all. It wasn't something that would make her feel better. You'll be happier not knowing about the future. Another line of tears spilled down Mayuri's cheek. No! Mayushi's not good for anything, no matter what world she's in. The world needs Kurusu a lot more than it needs me, and so does Okuring. Suzuha suddenly felt like she was looking at the Mayuri she'd known in the future. She thought of the big sis Mayu that she'd never seen since she was a little girl. She couldn't refuse her request. Big sis Mayu, I knew, used to say the same thing sometimes. And then she'd always stare off into the sky. She looked so sad, like she was in pain. Kagure hated seeing her like that. Kagari? It was only then that she remembered she'd been keeping Kagari a secret from Mayuri. The girl named Kagari was a war orphan. You adopted her, so she's your daughter. Mayushi's daughter? She was a kind girl but strong. She was still so tiny, but she'd always say that it was her job to protect her mommy. So seeing you really hurt her. Seeing you sad really hurt her, I think. To think of it, today's July 7th, Tanabata. Huh? Yeah. I was a kid, you were the one who taught me about that. But it was the only day of the year when Orihime and Hikaboshi could see each other. Air pollution was so bad you could never see the stars, but you told me about it anyway. Eiko, I have tears in my eyes. I hate sad Mayuri. Me too, man. You're not alone, bro. We gotta get the tissues ready. It's not fair. It's just not right. Even if the clouds are covering the night sky, the stars aren't gone from this world. They're still shining on the other side. Let's pray together, okay? No problem, Frollo. I got you. Words you said gave me and Kagari hope. That's the one thing I want you to know. If nothing else, both she and I needed you. Uncle Okuring really cared about you until he died. Your happiness was the one thing he thought about. Till he died? Maybe that was another cruel truth for her. Suzu had decided that she would hold nothing back now. That's right. Uncle Okuring only lives for another 15 years. What? He dies protecting you. No. Later, Dad told me Uncle Okuring's last words. Really glad I was able to save Mayuri. The whole reason I'm alive is to protect Mayuri. No. No. Mayuri put both her hands over her mouth. Never got over it, I think. Couldn't see you. You looked up into the Tanabata sky and whispered to yourself. No! If my Hikaboshi had come back to life that day, would everything be different now? No! God, no! That day, my Hikaboshi, my... Yuri was repeating the words to herself. Tears were still pouring down her face. Her sad cries finally came to a stop. She was still shaking, but her voice had gotten quiet. What does that mean? I think I know now. A year ago, I was really angry at Uncle Okurin. The chance was right in front of him, so why did he give up? I was really mad at you too for stopping him from doing what he needed to do. After living here for a year, I realized that I was the one who was wrong. I think now I might be able to talk to Uncle Okurin. That day, I don't know whether I can really change his mind or not, though. As the sun set in the west, the shadow of the time machine lengthened, Suzuha's along with it. I only have one chance left, so I think I'm going to bet on those words you said. I'm not going back to the day when Makase Kurusu was killed. I'm going to the day you spoke of. I'll see if I can grant your wish. Ayushi's wish? Suzuha gently rubbed Mayuri's tiny little shoulders. I believe that's the key to Steins Gate. The key that can open Steins Gate isn't a normal star that's given up on being Hikaboshi. I think only your Hikaboshi can do the job. So basically, my new mission plan is to bring Hikaboshi back to life. Dad would probably call it Operation Altair, or maybe Operation Aquila. Or maybe since it's bringing Altair and Aquila together, it would be Operation Deneb? I guess I'm not good at coming up with names like he is. Avery tried to draw herself as best she could on wobbly legs. Hey Suzu, that operation, let Mayushi do it. Suzuha stared at the girl in front of her, unable to believe what she'd just heard. This is a dangerous bet. If I'm wrong, you may simply fail. Time machine is at its limit. I don't know when it'll get out of control. It may simply vanish. Even so, please. Mayushi's a lab member too, right? I don't want to just have Okuring and Daru save me and never do anything for them. Yuri rubbed her eyes hard and wiped away her tears. Life was slowly returning to her frail body. Mayushi likes Okuring. Mayushi loves him as much as Kurisu. No, that's not true. Mayushi knows she loves him a lot more. I'm not crying, but I love Hoen Kyoba much more. When I lost my grandma and I was about to just disappear, he came to me and he said, "Stay in this world forever." He saved me. That's him, my Hikoboshi. I want to see him again. I want to hear that arrogant laugh of his again. Even if I know I can never be Orihime. He'll always be my Hikoboshi, and no one else ever will. I want to see Hoen Kiyoma again. The girl who could never be Orihime shouted out all her feelings to the world at the top of her lungs. Right in that instant. This is so sad. I know. I'm getting teary-eyed, I'm not gonna lie. Suzuha heard a sound from her cell phone that she'd never heard before. What is this? Sound of a video message. When she saw the sender and subject line, Suzuha gasped. This is a video message from the future. I stuck my hand against the wall of the Brawn Tube workshop to catch my breath. There was no sign of Mayuri. I'd gone to May Queen Neon and to any shop I could imagine her visiting, had no luck. Okabe! Baho came back. She was out of breath too. Did you find her? No, I looked around and I can't find her anywhere. The panic was threatening to make me lose control. You go, Mayuri. Daru, did you find her? I asked Daru to stay behind and call out of her friends and people she knew. Okuring, the thing is... What's wrong? Phone's not picking up. Called Mayuri a bunch of times too, but it looks like she's turned off her phone. Not it. It's not just Mayushi. I can't get a hold of anyone. Actually, my phone's at 0 bars this whole time. What? Check on my phone. Mine's not getting service either. Oh no. Me too. The lab had never suffered from bad signal before. Went to the roof and even tried holding our phones up to the sky, but result was the same. Doesn't work on the roof either. Can't get any signal even outside. Daru looked for news on the internet. Thankfully, the internet connection was still active. Hey, there's breaking news. There was an article on the top page of Taboo talking about a large-scale cell phone service outage. Wait, what is this? All cell towers in Akihabara for all carriers have stopped working? All carriers? Is that possible? Didn't seem possible to me. I don't know the circumstances anyway. Events of a year ago in the Alpha World Line flashed through my mind. That night, when Mayuri was mercilessly killed, all the safety I'd ever believed in was stripped away. That night when all the pain began started with a bomb threat at Akihabara Station that had shut down the train system. Someone did this deliberately. Something terrible was about to engulf Akihabara. That was the feeling I had. I tried my best to fight off the flashback. Now wasn't a time to be scared. I needed to find Mayuri. Leave her alone out there. I gritted my teeth to fight off into the trauma I was carrying and raised my head. Daru, the internet's still working, right? Oh yeah, I'm talking to Luca and Amanashi and Ryan right now. Okay, they should be willing to help look for Mayuri. Take a look again. Hold it. There's another thing that's bothering me. I went to Ad Channel to look for information on the outage. Somebody's cracked the occult board. The one doing the cracking is, well, look. Laura brought up the Ad Channel page on the screen for me to see. I wonder why it could possibly matter, but decided to take a look anyway. What? That Larry's neighbor? Was the nickname I used to make contact with Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha. What's going on? Decided to leave the explanation for later. Clicked on the thread. It was all comments by a single person. Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha. The first comment had gone up an hour ago. But that it was just an endless string of meaningless numbers and letters. Salary's neighbor. It appears that we twins will now be temporarily driven from the place we belong. I may not be able to come back here anymore. Our Father in heaven has developed a way to force our most secret places. Now we shall become good children, his children, who cannot tell lies. And thus we will be forced to tell him the secrets of controlling time. And those secrets lie. It is a great sorrow to me that I cannot protect those secrets. I had hoped we could be good friends, but this is probably goodbye. So lastly, I'd like you to pass a message to the person I respect the most. I always regarded myself as essentially. What's that supposed to mean? Looking at the screen from the side and evidently sensed that something was amiss from the text, I answered her. Deus. What? The Amadeus Kurisu. Something's happened to Kurisu. It was some kind of message. It was trying to contact me with it. The secret to controlling time. It's a time machine. Information about the time machine leaked to someone? Wait, how does Amadeus know about the time machine? Did you tell her, Okarin? Did I? I didn't think I told her when I was a tester, but no time to think about that now. Maho, can you access Amadeus? It's against the rules, but I guess now's not a time to worry about that, is it? Ashida, can I use your computer? Maho took Daro's seat and used his PC to access the Brain Science Institute's computers. Brain Science Institute's computers. She put in her ID, Saleri, and her password. She pushed the enter key, but Amadeus didn't appear. This isn't what usually happens. What's going on? Confused, she typed a series of commands into the PC with a speed that rivaled Daru's. No matter what she did, the Amadeus program didn't appear on her screen. When she finished accessing every server at the Institute, she stared at the computer and bit her lip. What's going on here? This is just impossible. What happened? It's gone. Amadeus' program and all the memory data is gone. Just like that message from Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha. Daru, hack it! Not just the Brain Science Institute. Force open every bit of data Victor Condria has. Everything from servers to individual PCs. Okie dokie. Maho, help him, please. You're right. The answer was the same. Not only the Amadeus Kurisu, but the Maho as well were nowhere to be found at the Victor Condria servers. There was no trace of them. Their very existence had been erased. They moved them somewhere else? It's impossible. The only person with that level of administrative privilege for the Amadeus system is Dr. Leskinen. Dr. Leskinen. My mind flashed back to the message from Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha. It was our Father in Heaven whom Kurisu had spoken of. Amadeus considered anyone a father, it would be. No way. Did Dr. Leskinen do it? Make assumptions like that. It's a lot more likely than the ID and password got cracked. Is there a way to get a hold of Dr. Leskinen? The phones weren't working. There was no way to tell when he'd see an email or if he'd respond. Maho was thinking hard, but it didn't seem like she was having any luck. We're getting nowhere. I was concerned about Mayuri, but I couldn't ignore the danger that was right in front of me. For now, I'll go to the radio building. If Kurusu's warning is right. That's what they'll be after. I'll go too. You and Maho stay here and gather information. Mayuri might come back. But if something happens, run. Gave my orders and ran to the lab towards the radio building. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Hydration break. Okay. Susa hit the play button on our smartphone's video display. The video was heavily compressed, covered in static. But she recognized the person that appeared. Hey, Death Bellows! Operation Arclight. Welcome to the stream. Happy Valentine's Day. Again. Have a gold star. Again, you've come at the right time. The video was heavily compressed and covered in static. She recognized the person that appeared. The face she'd known for her whole life. Valentine's Day? Yep, Valentine's Day. Unless you're not in the States, then it could be after, possibly before. A face that had been with her both in the past and her present. The man who was still remembered holding her up in the air as a child was probably about 35 in the video. Europe land. Ah, got you. Yeah, then post Valentine's Day for you. Probably the day after, I think? Night after? I'm not well versed in the timings of the Europe land. Actually, 25 minutes left. Learn to speak. 25 minutes left about. Ah, okay. There we go. We were right. My sentence still holds for 25 more minutes. Thank you for being here. Hopefully we can get this thing done quick, because it's like super late for you. The man who was still remembered holding her up in the air as a child was probably about 35 in the video. Hey, Suzuha! How you doing? It's Daddy. It's the year 2025. Really sorry to dump all this info on you, really. Forgive me, please. If you're seeing this video message, that means you and Mayushi have found another path to Steins Gate. In other words, the plan's moved to the next phase. You might be angry and wondering why I didn't tell you all this from the start. It wasn't that I didn't, it's that I couldn't. In the world line you originally set out from, I never planned the operation that I'm about to describe. You probably already noticed, but the choice you and Mayushi just made has changed the world line a little. Best theme playing. Oh yeah! In other words, I'm a different Hashida Itaru than the one in your world line. But Suzuha, please don't get the wrong idea. No matter what world line I'm in, I love my daughter. By the way, which daddy is more handsome? I started weightlifting lately. Daru, stop screwing around and explain the mission. That's right. We all know you give up in a week. Stop wasting your time. Run out of time to record, yeah? Ah, don't rush me. So anyway, let me get on the real reason I'm sending you the message. I'm about to share with you the details of Operation Aquila. She got it! She knows her dad. This is going to take everything you've got, and not a single mistake will be allowed. Pay attention, and don't miss a word, got it? Suzuha paused the video there. If he was telling her to pay attention, it must be important. If she was going to memorize it all, she needed to calm down. To be honest, getting a video from her dad in 2025 had made her really excited. I felt like her father was telling her that the plan she'd come up with on her own was the right one. That's why she needed to pay careful attention. Mayuri was standing by herself, typing something into her phone as fast as she could. When the video had arrived, she told Mayuri that they may have to leave for the past day. There must have been some reason the video was sent today at this time. That's how it seemed to Suzuha. What are you doing? Oh, Suzu, how's it going? Are we gonna leave today? About to check the mission parameters. See. So if we do leave today, Mayushi's gonna go missing, right? I don't want to worry anybody, so I want to write a message to Mom and Dad and to all my friends. I hope you've got time to at least tell Uncle Okering in person. She would be done going over the mission and deciding on a course of action by sunset, probably. I wrote a message to Okering too, so it's okay. Just a message? Yeah. Yuri smiled and nodded. There were no more tears in her eyes, but you could still see wet lines drawn down her soft pink cheeks. Kind of embarrassing. No, I wrote this message and then I realized maybe I can't send it, so now I'm not sure what to do. Why? Can't get a signal. Maybe this is a dead zone. Can't get a signal. Suzuha looked at the screen on Mayuri's phone. There wasn't a signal bar on the antenna. Strange, you can always get a signal up here. Suzuha took out her own phone to double check. Mine too. She saw that Mayuri was using a different cell carrier than her. She frowned. Got a bad feeling about this. Told Mayuri to hide behind the time machine and silently moved up against the iron door leading to the stairs. She opened it a crack, taking care not to let it creak. She looked inside the building. It was as quiet as ever. The floor below but a room for events and some storerooms. So on weekdays like this, it was always quiet. Did I imagine it? She tilted her head sideways as she softly tried to close the door. Yeah. Huh? At Mayuri's scream, she turned around just in time to see armed agents in camouflage jumping over the fence. One of them had grabbed Mayuri. Oh no. They climbed up the walls? Suzuha deeply regretted her mistake. She was well aware that someone tried to come up the walls. The video from her dad had made her so excited, she lowered her guard. There were about 30 men, all carrying small assault rifles. Jesus, 30? Mayuri's their hostage. Suzuha couldn't do anything. Drop your gun and get on the ground. Hands on top of your head. The men gave her an order in a cold voice. Resist and we can't guarantee the girl's safety. Pulled Mayuri close and put the gun to her head. They flipped off the safety. Damn it. She had no choice but to obey. Suzuha took the gun out of her holster, put it on the ground, and took a pose where she couldn't resist. Suzu, don't talk. They'll kill you if you have to. They have to. Just fine. From the way they moved, she could easily tell they were veteran professionals. That meant they were certainly after the time machine, probably well aware that only Suzuha could operate it. Suzuha decided meant they wouldn't kill her if they didn't have to. The man who'd spoken to her first, who was probably the leader, now down next to her. She searched, roughly, to make sure she wasn't carrying any other weapons. I'm a girl, you know. Show some respect. They took all the other small pistols she carried for emergencies, as well as several different kinds of knives. Target 2 and Target 3 have been secured. What about you? Peter spoke to the group of men gathering around the time machine. Target 1 secured. It's locked. Anything we try is met with an error. Several of the men had gone inside the machine as well. The hatch open had been Suzuha's own mistake. Still, it upset her to see them inside the machine. Use. listen to anyone but me. Stand up. Peter kicked her with the heel of his boot. Keep your hands where they are. Move slowly. Try anything and we'll kill their hostage immediately. She stood up, her hands were handcuffed behind her back. They prodded her from behind to move next to the machine. Biometrics, isn't it? That's right. You can't copy my veins or fingerprints. Cutting off my hand or ripping out my eyeball won't work either. Security systems in the year 2036 aren't that easily fooled. The men in camo seemed aware of everything she said. None of them seemed surprised or irritated. Where's the professor? Leader asked the man who was pointing the gun at Mayuri. It's on his way. Target 1 is only useful if Target 2 is with it. Tell him it's impossible without brainwashing. Suzuha gritted her teeth when she heard the word brainwashing. She had seen many of her friends in Valkyrie undergo this cruel procedure. Then be sent back as spies before turning into vegetables. Peter turned towards Suzuha. You know what happens when you're brainwashed? I believe the professor doesn't use drugs. He alters your brain directly. I think it would be smarter just to help us. What do you think? Professor. She come from an old doctor, but the name had had a brainwashing team that had attempted to destroy Valkyrie. Suzuha had hated him more than anyone else. Hadn't used drugs either. It's safe to assume that both professors were the same person. Fine. Nodded. I'll help you, but I can't do it like this. Suzuha jangled the cuffs behind her back. Take off the handcuffs, but if you resist, the girl dies. Still a gun pointed at Mayuri's head. Even if she tried to resist, it would be impossible to save Mayuri from this many professional soldiers. At the cockpit, she used her biometrics to bypass the lock, brought up the control console. Lights came on all across the machine. She could hear a low rumbling. Okay. Get out. We'll investigate the rest. I don't think you're going to be able to understand it, but sure. As Suzuha left the cockpit, the leader turned his gaze towards a particular cluster of the men, which seemed to be engineers. It was the moment she was waiting for. Her hand had wandered below the console for just a moment when she left the cockpit. Hidden some knives there. Without making a sound, she threw it at the leader. Ah! The knife pierced his throat. He went down so quickly he hadn't even had time to scream. Quickly readied another knife and darted between men and camo. Her target was the man pointing the gun at Mayuri's head. She dropped her hips low to the ground. In an instant, she moved behind him and slit his throat. Blood poured out into an astonished Mayuri, but there was no time to worry about her. He grabbed his rifle, fired 2 shots to force him to the ground. They grabbed Mayuri's hand and ran behind the machine. The plan had gone well so far. She had seriously underestimated how well trained these men were. The second in command quickly moved to the front and worked to re-establish control. All he had was a knife and the gun she'd stolen. He did to protect Mayuri, a non-combatant. He was still facing more than 25 active enemies. Whatever the right way to get out of this was, she couldn't find it. The time machine was still active. She couldn't escape because she couldn't leave it here. One of the men fired several rounds toward her, which bounced off the side of the machine. Ah! Then Mayuri's head flew back as if she'd been struck. A spurt of blood came out. No! Big Sis Mayu! Ah! Ah! Her cute face was turning blood red. One of the rounds had grazed her after it had ricocheted. Oh, thank goodness. She was clutching herself with the arms and her expression was completely blank. Her tiny body was shaking. Suzuha couldn't blame her. She fired back at the enemy. They kept drawing closer. I've been through a lot of fights, but I don't think I've ever seen things. I don't think I've ever seen things get this bad. That was a typo. Learn to speak. The time machine's maintenance hatch was right in front of her. She saw that it was there. She visualized her last option in her mind. If I opened that, I could build the machine up from within. This is how it happens from the other world line. If she did that, all of her plans would be ruined. The path to Steins Gate would be forever closed. That didn't mean she was cold-blooded enough to sacrifice Mayuri here. If the world lines were going to converge, maybe Mayuri wouldn't die here at all. Her father had said during this video message bothered her. You probably already noticed, the choice you and Mayushi just made has changed the world line a little. In other words, a different Hashida Icharo than the one in your world line. It meant that Suzu had enough proof that Mayuri would be alive in 2036 now. The world line would have changed. Of course, for the sake of Operation Aquila, she'd hoped it had. That meant she wouldn't be able to move from this place. Imagine the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, these men taking the time machine. To turn the world line into something even worse than the one Suzu had experienced. Become a world line where not only Mayuri's life wasn't safe, Dara's wasn't either. If that was going to happen, she had to make her choice fast. Kept a careful eye on the men. As soon as she saw an opening, she opened the maintenance hatch's biometric block. She could see part of the engine, which was still going, giving off a quiet rumble. She turned her gun sights on it. Fortunately, the unit that created the Kerr black hole still wasn't active. Even if she blew up the machine here, it probably wouldn't cause serious damage to the space-time continuum. As soon as she saw that, she went to pull the trigger. No! Mayuri's voice stopped her. Don't destroy it! Stop me. I've already made my decision. Suzu! Mayuri had stopped her once before. Once again, she hesitated for just another instant. The battlefield that instant came to decide your fate. Took a quick look around again, and then she froze. Mixed in with the men in camo was a girl in a dark motorcycle suit and helmet. Oh no. Her? Kakari? Kakari, who had leaked this place's location to them? Was well aware of Kaguri's abilities after the two battles. If she wasn't completely in control of herself, she'd be killed instantly. She talked to herself. Give up on my own survival. She'd have to take with her in order to give Mayuri a chance to escape. Right now, the only thing she could afford to think about was getting Mayuri back to Okabe Rentaro. Just when she'd made her decision, she felt Kaguri staring at her, or more precisely, the blood dripping down Mayuri's forehead. Just after that, Kaguri did something she hadn't expected at all. She's gonna help. She's gonna help. What did you do to Mommy? What did you do to Mommy? There was a scream. No, it was the howl of an enraged beast. And then the slaughter began. Kaguri grabbed the second-in-command's head with her left hand. With her right, she steadied her rifle. After she fired, there was very little left of his head. The rest of him dropped to the ground. What are you doing? He slammed the piece of tattered flesh that had once been a man's head to the ground, and with no warning at all, leaped from one screaming man to another. He fired her gun into every one of them. What'd you do to Mommy? What'd you do to Mommy? What did you do? Even when her targets were already soaked in a sea of blood, she kept firing until her limbs were blown apart into unrecognizable rags. Some of them tried shooting her to protect themselves, but no matter where she was struck, Kaguri didn't even flinch. Her magazine ran dry. She drew forth long, military-style cleavers. Holding one in each hand, she used them in her military combat training to slaughter anyone she saw. Their entrails were scattered all over the twilight rooftop, covering her whole body in blood and bits of flesh. Don't look. Cover your ears, too. Suzu held Mayuri's head tight to her chest. Mayuri was shaking from fear, but she did as she was told and clapped her hands down over her ears.